Millfield, Oregon, October 1972. A small town where three 12-year-old children wake up to another ordinary day, not knowing their lives are connected in ways that neither they nor their families can imagine. David Henderson wakes up on the family farm at 5:30 a.m. as every day to help with morning chores before school. Sofia Rodriguez is already in the restaurant kitchen at 6 a.m., learning secret recipes her grandmother brought from Mexico. And Michael O'Sullivan organizes fresh bread in his parents' bakery before classes begin. 3 children, 3 different families, 3 apparently separate lives but united by a mark they carry on their skin since birth, a mark that only one person in Millfield knows the true meaning of. This is the 5th story of Millfield, the story of how destiny can separate siblings for 12 years but can never break the invisible threads that connect them. The story of 3 children who are about to discover they are much more than just school classmates. Henderson Farm is located 5 kilometers from downtown Millfield, on a dirt road surrounded by cornfields and pastures where cattle graze peacefully. This is where David Henderson, 12 years old, has spent his entire known life. Robert and Eleanor Henderson adopted David when he was only a few days old, during the 1960 contamination crisis. They had tried to have children for 15 years without success, and when little David came into their lives, it was as if all prayers had finally been answered. David has always been special, Eleanor often says to neighbors. Since he was her baby, he had a way of looking at people as if he could see beyond what's on the surface. Robert Henderson, a man of few words but much affection, taught David everything about rural life. How to plant at the right time, how to care for animals, how to read the weather by watching the clouds. But David is different from other farm boys. While his school classmates talk about baseball games and cars, David dreams of bigger things. He has a collection of astronomy books hidden under his bed and spends clear nights lying in the field watching the stars. "Dad," David asked on a summer night, "do you think there are people on other planets who also look at the stars and wonder if they're not alone?" Robert smiled. "Son, if there are, I bet they're as curious as you are." David knows he was adopted. The Hendersons never hid this from him. They told him he came to them during a difficult time in Millfield, when the hospital was full and many families needed help. "That doesn't matter," Eleanor always says when David asks about his biological parents. "What matters is that you are our son and always will be." But David has curiosity. Not a painful or desperate curiosity, just the natural curiosity of an intelligent child who wants to understand his own story. There's also the small mark he has on the inside of his right forearm, 3 small dots that form a triangle. The Hendersons could never explain where this mark came from. "Maybe you were born with it," they say. Some children are born with special marks. David likes to think the mark means something important. Sometimes when he's alone in the field, he traces the 3 dots with his finger and imagines they're a constellation, 3 stars that connect him to something greater he doesn't yet understand, like a celestial map engraved on his skin. October 1972, David is in 7th grade at Millfield Rural School, a school that serves the rural properties north of town. Because it's farther than the urban center, the bus trip is longer, reaching the school 15 kilometers from Henderson Farm. David is an exceptional student, especially in science and mathematics. Mr. Thomas Wright, his teacher at the rural school, has already spoken to the Hendersons about the possibility of David taking tests for advanced programs in Portland. "This boy has a special brain," he said in a meeting with his parents. "He sees patterns where other children see only numbers. It's as if he has a natural connection with the universe. David doesn't know yet, but this ability to see patterns will soon prove important in ways he can't imagine." El Corazon de Mexico. It is right in the center of Millfield's main street, between Wilson Pharmacy and Murphy's Barbershop. The small but cozy restaurant is where Sofia Rodriguez, 12 years old, spends most of her afternoons after school. Carlos and Maria Rodriguez came to Millfield in 1965 from Pine Valley looking for a place to start their own business. They had adopted Sofia during the 1960 crisis, when she was only a few days old, and wanted to raise their daughter in a place where she could have deep roots Sophia has golden hands, Maria often says, watching her daughter prepare tortillas, with the same precision she learned from her mother in Mexico. It's as if she was born knowing the secrets of the kitchen. Sophia really seems to have a natural talent for cooking. At 12, she already knows how to prepare mole poblano, perfect, tamales, and a pozole that brings customers back every week. But it's more than talent, it's passion. Cuando cocinas con amor, Sophia says, repeating her adoptive grandmother's words. La comida sabe el alma de quien la hace. When you cook with love, the food knows the soul of whoever makes it. Sophia speaks Spanish fluently, basic Portuguese she learned from some Brazilian customers, and perfect English from school. She is a cultural bridge in Millfield, helping American families understand Mexican traditions through food and helping immigrants feel at home. But Sophia is also an artist. In her small room above the restaurant, she has dozens of notebooks, filled with drawings of people, landscapes, moments she observes in Millfield's daily life. Her favorite notebook is full of portraits of people eating in the restaurant. She draws not just faces, but emotions. The loneliness of an older man dining alone, the joy of a family celebrating a birthday, the shyness of a young couple on their first date. Sophia sees things others don't see, Carlos observes with pride. She understands people. Sophia knows she's adopted. The Rodriguez family was always honest about this, explaining she came into their lives during a difficult time, but was the best gift God could have given them. Tú eres nuestra hija del corazón, Maria always says. You are our daughter of the heart. There's only one thing that sometimes awakens her curiosity, the small mark on the inside of her right forearm, 3 small dots that form a perfect triangle. The Rodriguez family could never explain the mark, and doctors said it was probably just an uncommon birthmark. Curiously, Sophia likes the mark. She sometimes incorporates the triangular mark she has on the inside of her right forearm into her drawings, using the 3 dots as an artistic signature. In her notebooks, you can find small triangles hidden in page corners, like a personal watermark. Why do you always draw these small triangles? A classmate asked once. It's just something of mine, Sophia replied, smiling. Like a special signature. In October 1972, Sophia is thriving at St. Mary's Catholic School in Millfield, a parochial school where boys and girls study in separate classrooms according to Catholic tradition. Sophia studies in Miss Janet Parker's girls' class and excels in all subjects, especially art and languages. This girl has rare emotional intelligence, Miss Parker told the Rodriguez family in a conference. She can read people like they were open books. Sophia doesn't know yet, but this ability to read people may reveal truths about her own life. If you're enjoying this video, please click the like button so YouTube can share it with more people. And if you enjoy this type of video, please subscribe to our channel. O'Sullivan's Bakery has existed in Millfield since 1952, but it was in 1967 that Patrick and Catherine O'Sullivan took it over, bringing with them their adoptive son Michael, then 7 years old. Michael O'Sullivan spent the first years of his life in Pine Valley, adopted by the O'Sullivans during the 1960 contamination crisis. When the family moved to Millfield, Michael quickly became an integral part of the community. Michael has hands that know how to work, Patrick often says, watching his 12-year-old son help in the bakery every morning before school. Since he was little, he always wanted to understand how things work. It's true. Michael is fascinated by mechanics, construction, by anything that involves creating or fixing. While other boys play cowboys, Michael takes apart old clocks to see how they work, builds bridges with sticks in the creek behind the house, invents simple gadgets to make bakery work easier. Dad, Michael said one morning while helping load flour bags, I invented a way for the bread cart not to get stuck on the ramp anymore. Patrick laughed. You're 12 years old, Mike. What can you know about engineering? But when Michael showed his solution, a simple pulley system he had built with scrap materials, Patrick was genuinely impressed. Michael is also the school peacemaker. When there are fights in the yard, Michael appears to separate and help the boys resolve their differences. When someone is being teased, Michael intervenes, not with fists, but with words and logic. He has a way with people, Catherine observes. He can make everyone feel heard, Even teaching the girls' class, Miss Parker has noticed in the yard that Michael has a rare ability to mediate conflicts. It's as if he could see all sides of a situation simultaneously, she commented to Mr. Carter. Michael knows he's adopted. The O'Sullivans explained he came to them when he was very small, during a difficult time in Pine Valley, and they chose him because they felt an immediate connection. Family isn't about where you come from, Patrick always says. It's about where you're going and who's by your side during the journey. Michael accepts this completely. He loves the O'Sullivans and never felt the need to know about his biological parents. His curiosity is directed toward the future, not the past. Curiously, Michael sometimes uses the triangle shape in his constructions. He discovered that triangular structures are more resistant and incorporates this knowledge into his inventions. Unknowingly, he transformed a mysterious mark he has on the inside of his right forearm into practical wisdom. Triangles are the foundation of the strongest trusses, Mr. Carter had explained during a science class. Nature uses this shape because it's practically indestructible, Michael had smiled, unconsciously touching his triangular mark through his shirt sleeve. In October 1972, Michael is at the height of his creativity. Recently, Patrick decided Michael was mature enough for a new responsibility, serving customers at the front of the bakery, instead of working only in the back with production. "You have a way with people, Mike," Patrick said. "It's time you learn the part of business that involves taking care of customers." He also just finished a science project about bridges, which impressed Mr. James Carter, his teacher in the boys' class at St. Mary's Catholic School, so much that he suggested Michael participate in the regional science fair. "This boy sees solutions where others see problems," he told the O'Sullivans. "He has a mind that can connect things that seem unrelated." Michael doesn't know yet, but this ability to connect apparently unrelated things may prove more important than he imagines. July 1972. 3 months before the harvest festival that would change everything. It was a Saturday morning when Sofia Rodriguez entered O'Sullivan's bakery for the first time. Her mother had asked her to buy special breads for an event at the restaurant. Some important customers were coming to dinner, and Maria wanted to impress with a dessert that combined Irish breads with Mexican dulce de leche. Sofia pushed the bakery door and heard the bell chiming above her head. The smell of fresh bread and cinnamon filled her lungs, and for a moment she thought about how wonderful it would be to reproduce this aroma in the family restaurant. "Good morning," said a young voice behind the counter. "How can I help you?" Sofia looked and saw a boy about her age, with brown hair and a bakery apron that was clearly a little big for him. It was Michael O'Sullivan, though she only knew he studied at the same school, in the boys' class. "My mother needs special breads," Sofia said, a little shy. "Something that pairs well with sweets. We have important customers coming to dinner tonight." Michael smiled. "You must be from El Corazon de Mexico, right? I always pass by the front when I go to school. The smell of the food is incredible." "Thank you," Sofia replied, feeling more comfortable. Do you work here?" "My father thought it was time for me to learn to serve customers," Michael explained, organizing some breads in a basket. "Before I only worked in the back, but now I have to talk to people too." Michael showed different types of breads, explaining ingredients and suggesting combinations. Sofia was impressed with his knowledge and the gentle way he spoke. For Mexican sweets, "I would suggest these traditional Irish breads," Michael said, reaching for a high shelf. "They have a texture that absorbs sweet flavors well, but aren't too sweet by themselves." When Michael stretched his arm to reach the breads, his shirt sleeve rose slightly, revealing a small mark on the inside of his right forearm. Sofia saw clearly 3 small dots forming a perfect triangle, exactly like the mark she had in the same place. Sofia felt a strange sensation in her stomach, but said nothing. In her 12-year-old mind, it made quick sense. It must be some kind of birthmark that some people had. Strange coincidence, but not impossible. "These breads will be perfect," she said, trying not to show her surprise. "How much does it cost?" While Michael wrapped the breads, Sofia discreetly watched to see if she could see the mark again, but the sleeve had come down. She paid, thanked him, and left the bakery with a feeling that something important had happened, though she didn't know exactly what. Michael also felt something different during that interaction. There was something familiar about Sophia, though they had never really talked before. The way she smiled, the kindness in her eyes, something that made him think he would like to know her better. But with schools separated by gender and the responsibilities of work and family, opportunities for friendships between boys and girls were rare. Neither of them knew that that brief encounter at the bakery could have deeper meaning than they imagined. October 1972. 3 lives following parallel paths that sometimes cross but never really connect. David Henderson continues his routines on the farm and at rural school, always curious about the stars and the patterns he sees in the world around him. He comes to Millfield only on weekends for family shopping or special events. Sofia Rodriguez divides her time between the parochial school and the restaurant, always drawing and observing people. Since that day at the bakery, she occasionally thinks about the gentle boy who served her, but their lives rarely cross. Michael O'Sullivan thrives in his new role serving customers at the bakery and in his school projects in the boys' class. Sometimes he sees Sophia passing by on the way to school and always remembers the polite girl who bought breads for her family. There are also strange coincidences that no one notices. All 3 have occasional nightmares about hospitals and people in white. All 3 feel inexplicable discomfort with the smell of disinfectant. All 3, when anxious, unconsciously touch the small triangular mark on the inside of their right forearms. And there's Margaret Collins, who works part-time at the school library. Every time she sees any of these 3 children, she feels inexplicable, pangs in her heart. Something about them, the way they laugh, the way they move, something familiar she can't identify. And Joyce, who knows the truth, observes from afar. Every time she needs to examine one of the 3 children at the health clinic, her heart races. She always discreetly checks the triangular mark, confirming what she already knows, renewing her silent promise. The Harvest Festival is being planned. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the tradition and promises to be the biggest celebration in Millfield's history. David Henderson, Sofia Rodriguez, and Michael O'Sullivan. 3 12-year-old children with apparently separate lives, but connected by invisible threads that neither time nor distance could break. One dreams of the stars, seeking patterns in the cosmos. Another draws human emotions, capturing souls on paper. The third builds bridges, connecting things that seem to be separate. They grew up in loving families who chose them and raised them as their own children. They never felt lack of love, never questioned their place in the world, but they carry each one a small mark, 3 dots forming a triangle, which is the signature of a moment they can't remember. 3 children, 3 families, 3 lives that follow their own paths in a small Oregon town. This was the 5th story of Millfield, the story of how 3 children can live side by side for 12 years without knowing they are family. The story of how destiny sometimes plants seeds that will only bloom at the right time. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and share our video to help us spread our stories.